everyone. Welcome back to the Franchise Friday podcast. My name is Melissa Pang here at the Entrepreneur Source, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Nathan Millhouse over at Bubbly, Paws. So welcome, Nathan.
Thank you,
Great
Melissa.
to have
It's
you.
awesome. So excited to be here. Great brand, but love TES. So super excited to chat with you here today.
Thank you so much. I am excited for our conversation. So before we jump in, would you mind just giving us a little bit of background about you, how you got into franchising, and how you got to where you are today
Yeah,
with
absolutely. I'd,
Bubbly
I'd love to
Paws?
do that. So my career, unlike probably some different people in this space, my career has almost been entirely franchising. I added up the other day. It makes me feel a little old to say this, but 25 plus years in this space. So I kind of cut my teeth right out of college doing a lot of operations and business coaching work with some major franchisors that work nationally, even internationally at that point, and spent about 10, 12 years in that space. Decided at that point I wanted to get my MBA. So I did that and then decided, having helped so many franchise owners work on and learn how to not work so much in their businesses, that I would become a franchise myself. And so I actually have franchised two different businesses. Been quite successful in both of those ventures. And then when I left that, I was probably spent about the last 7 years of my career on the development side, primarily working again with large organizations. I had a company out of Canada that we franchise all over North America. And then the last 3 years, Melissa, I've been spent more in the development arena, but with emerging brands. So young brands, as you're familiar with, that are new to the franchising space. Maybe not necessarily new to their concept, but definitely new to the franchising space. So I've been doing that, and definitely the emerging brands, like I said, probably the last 3 years, specific in that space. And Bubbly Paws is actually one of our clients here with Franchise Beacon.
Awesome. No, and thank you so much for sharing, because you bring a wealth of knowledge to the table from so many different different aspects of franchising. So we can delve into any of those areas as we talk today. But I also just love the perspective that you bring of, you've been on the operations side. So that's, after the franchise is awarded, that whole section of it, then being on the franchisee side. Is that what you said? Being on being on the franchisee side, you've been in the shoes of these candidates. And then also, now doing the development and kind of before the franchise is awarded, seeing that piece of it.
I worked
whole life
backwards.
cycle covered.
I worked backwards in the process.
Yeah, you did. You started from the and it still works. All the pieces fit together. So I love that. So today, do you want to speak a little bit more specifically about Bubbly Paws and with a brief overview of the unique differentiators of the brand, maybe even like why you decided to work
absolutely.
with them so closely?
So a couple of the key things that we really focus on whenever we, and when I say we, I mean Franchise Beacon, decides to bring on a brand and represent that brand, is we want a brand that is really unique in their space, that's unique, that we believe has demand, and obviously has their chickens or ducks in a row, if you will. So Bubbly Paws definitely met that criteria when we started talking to them back right around the COVID era, 2020. And we found that while they were very unique in their space, they weren't one of these brands who jumped into something because it was trendy. They didn't want to kind of get into a space where it just said, oh, cool, pets are awesome, let's do it. There was actually a lot of thought and research done behind it by the Bubbly Paws team, Keith and Patricia, for, I would imagine, 2 years of research before they opened their very first Bubbly Paws, which was April of 2011. So 11 years ago, they did this. Again, what really, I think, exemplifies this brand is they're not your typical emerging brand, as I mentioned before. They've got an 11-year track record behind them, successfully opening multiple businesses every couple of years. They even went so far as to open a Bubbly Paws in Meridian, Idaho, so the Boise market, right when they launched as a franchisor last year. So it was October that they went ahead and did this. They bought an existing brand, converted it into a Bubbly Paws to prove to themselves that they knew how to support and manage and coach and lead, if you will, a team, so a franchise, if you will, that wasn't right in their backyard. All the stores that are in Minneapolis are roughly a 20-minute drive from where Keith and Patricia live. So this really stretched that envelope of, can we do this? It made them feel a lot more comfortable about where they are at this point. They bring obviously proprietary software. No one has done this before in this arena. So they developed their own software. They own it. They control it. They push updates themselves, so they're not regulated to what somebody else is doing. When you look at it, it's like some kind of a concept, if you will, that you're able to pull off the shelf, per se. They've even created, outside of just their own identity, their own shampoo and conditioner, and even cologne line is a new line that's come out. It's all manufactured on their end here in the U.S. It's plant-based, lots of essential oils, no dyes. Trisha, very instrumental in that process, as well as kind of creating that formula and brand line that we're able to compete in our stores. And now we even sell retail as well.
Awesome. Something I might just need to get some for myself.
The conditioner's formula that we modified was actually originally designed for horses' tails. And if you're familiar with like a horse's tail, it's extremely coarse, but they want it to be nice and smooth and soft. And so that's actually kind of where some of that line comes from. So if you have a dog maybe that's a little wiry in its coat, this will soften it up really nicely.
I love that. And I just love also too, so deliberate in their approach to not only franchising, but also just the business model in general is what it sounds like. And so my question to you is, when it comes to brand differentiators, and you mentioned a few, whether that's specific to the brand, so maybe more like the shampoos and the software, but also when it comes to business model and the differentiators around business model, what would you say is important that maybe just franchisors in general think about? And the reason I ask is, I think brand differentiator gets thrown around a lot, and the word differentiator, in every vertical, there are a lot of different brands. And so it's like, how do you differentiate? But what's important in your mind, and with your knowledge, expertise, and background, what's important for a brand to look at when it does come to differentiating and kind of highlighting those things?
That's a great question. And you're absolutely right. A differentiator does get thrown around a ton. And a lot of times when you hear it, you're just like, you're really not that different. You're kind of just like everybody else. So I think a couple of the key things, and again, we can kind of regress into some of my early part of my career, is around the operations of the support system. That's one thing that, again, Bubbly Paws has really got nailed down. Their operations manual, their marketing manual, the way they've even designed all their support structures kind of in anticipation of what's about to happen is second to none. They're really on the forefront of being able to do that because they understand what it's like to start a business from scratch and not have anybody there to help take care of them. Keith and Patricia had a independent doggy daycare, still do. And so they understand the nuances of creating something from nothing. Exactly the same thing they did with Bubbly Paws. Again, a concept that came with obviously research and feedback from all over the US and even Europe, where they went and talked to different concepts over there to create this brand. But they were very diligent in that approach. They wanted to make sure that they could be set up for success, because you and I both know people get into franchising because they want to mitigate risks. Can't eliminate, but you definitely can mitigate your risk. And a good franchise system will help mitigate those risks and allow somebody to get into that ownership idea, ownership mentality that they're all striving for, and not be in business by themselves. They literally are in business together with a partnership, someone who has a vested interest in their overall success at the end of the day.
It's so important for, I believe, a brand to look at, hey, what's the story we're going to tell, and setting it up not just, okay, I have an FDD check, I have an operations manual check, I have a software system check, and now I'm good to go. But it's like, okay, what you have to think about the franchisees that you're looking to bring on, and what's the story that they're going to hear or that they're going to maybe connect with. And it is different for everyone. I love that you bring up franchising as being something that actually mitigates risk, because I think sometimes there's a lot of, maybe misconceptions around franchising. I have to give up control. I'm having to answer to, a franchisor. It's actually not my own business. And it's like, no, actually, and this is, again, up to the candidate to really explore, and then up to the brand to help the candidate explore, but better understand, actually, this could be, you can get into business by yourself, or yeah,
For
by
your,
your,
for
what is it?
yourself, not
Get
by
into business
yourself.
for
Yeah,
yourself, not
exactly.
by yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's so important. And sometimes maybe brands can lose that just in the
Hmm.
excitement of becoming a franchise, just checking off boxes, but not actually looking at what's
Yes.
the story I'm telling, or how is this
And,
going to
and I've
look
seen
to a
that a lot of
candidate.
times with young brands that are kind of launching into the space. There's so much excitement about them, and then there's excitement around, that gets created within just the investor, the person who's wanting to run that business. They jump on board. Next thing you know, they escalate in number of units sold, if you will, and then they start to run into issues on getting them open or having the support team there to help that franchisee be successful from grand opening to their first 6 months, their first year, maybe eventually scaling and getting another acquisition of another unit per se. And sometimes that can halt it when you're not focused on that. And one thing I think you'll hear Keith say a lot, they love slow and steady growth. Now that doesn't mean they're only going to do one or two a year, but they want to be calculated. They want to make sure they don't bite off more than they can chew, especially their first year. For example, the goal that we set this year by the end of December was a minimum of 10 new franchisees, so nothing crazy. And they're shooting for 3 to 5 open Bubbly Paws. And right now we're in the process of doing 4. So we're close. I think we'll be close to at least working on that 5th one. We may not have it open, but work on the 5th one. So they did want slow and steady. Obviously, year 2, year 3, year 4, those numbers will change, but they'll have the more comfort level behind it too. And they'll know, like Keith will say a lot of times, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so when we get into it, we may run into something that comes back at us and go, oh, shoot, we got to make an adjustment. It's easier to do when you're dealing with just your first couple of openings versus trying to do 30 or 40 of them and then run into that issue.
100%. And I know, again, like you're saying, it's really exciting, once you're able to
Mm-hmm.
franchise as a franchisor, able to award territories, bring on franchisees, that it's not as fun and exciting to
Yes.
say slow, steady growth,
Yes.
But in the long run, 100%, that's what you want for your franchisees, for yourself. To your point, things come up you don't even know. And so you want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to support those changes that are
Yeah.
inevitably going to come up. 100%. In your experience, just on the development side, also as the franchisee, um, what what are some things along those lines that you've that maybe you would say to a franchisor at whatever stage of growth, but that is important to focus on, um, in the beginning or as
Mm-hmm.
you're looking to grow, um, as opposed to just thinking, let's just,
Right.
sell as many
Yeah.
territories, award as many
I
territories
think
as
the biggest
possible.
thing, and I've seen this even in my career in previous where I established and ran different operational teams for franchisors, a lot of times there's not enough transparency in what's happening. So the franchisor needs to be
Mm.
transparent. I think, again, that's one thing I've been really happy with Bubbly on is they're very, very open about everything, even going so far like they said is this is our first this is our first one. That's why we did Boise, to prove to ourselves we could actually do it, because we thought we could. It was just easier to prove to ourselves that we could do that. So a lot of times I think it's just being open, being honest, and in my opinion, most importantly, is making sure that those first 20, 30, 50 franchisees, that's really your foundation. It's like building a house. If you don't have a strong, solid foundation, how are you going to grow any larger? Because it's going to fall apart. Those people are who help move you forward. They're the ones who become part of your, you know, um, advisory councils in different degrees. And then they give you a lot of feedback, and you can learn so much from franchisees because of just past business experiences they've got. It's great to have those voices and be able to hear those things, but it's also great for them to know and understand, obviously with an emerging brand, that there are going to be hiccups, but being very open about that and knowing if we get this foundation right, we don't have to worry about it moving on later. So a strong foundation is going to give you a great home and something to build on. And those are the people initially are going to be the first ones to validate who you are and what you do. And so you've got to be able to be, pinpoint right on with that. And I think that's something that Bubbly Paws and Keith and Patricia take very, very seriously.
Yep, love those points. And looking at you're strong. And I say this all the time to newer brands too, where it's like, okay, you don't have maybe you don't have any franchisees or you're just getting started. 100% you want to make sure that those franchisees are going to be they're going to become brand ambassadors. They're going to become part of your team. So you want to be able to work with them for the next 5-10 years and love working with them. So they're going to help build your brand. So it's almost like an extension of yourself. And I think too, so at the Entrepreneur Source, we work with Bubbly Paws, obviously, and we enjoy working with Bubbly Paws because I think they bring that emerging brand piece of it. So there are, I think, lots of people who are excited about a brand that doesn't actually have a lot of franchisees yet. They get to be there at the beginning and have a say in what goes on and be a part of building that up. And so I think that's a big reason why we do work well together, and the coaches really enjoy working with you as well, because in addition to being new and emerging, you're also providing great support, and it's very deliberate. It's very, like you said, transparent. These are all great things that coaches enjoy, and they're able to talk to their clients. It just creates a great experience, I guess is what I'm saying overall, is my long way of saying experience.
I think that a lot of times, like kind of what you're saying, the coaches love that openness. And as long, if we can give them enough information, it allows them to, in turn, present a brand to a potential candidate in a confident way. This is pretty young, I'm not sure about them. They seem kind of cool. It's in the pet space. You said you like dogs, here, talk to them. It's not like that. So we try and be as transparent as we can, obviously legally. There's some things we can't do, but as transparent as we can on where we're at, what we're doing, even what we're thinking. And I mentioned to you earlier, and Bubbly is very adamant about how many franchisees are they bringing on. I know we turned down a very large inquiry of 20 plus in Southern California when we first launched, and them and us, did not feel that was the right fit initially. That they weren't really into the brand itself. It was more just a business opportunity, and they want people who really see the brand, feel the brand, understand the brand, and what it is that you're delivering to the client at that point. So it's got to be, kind of a mixture of all those things. And I think, that's where Bubbly, and I'm real excited about them, why I think that they've really been embraced by your team there at TES, because it is a unique brand, but they're very open, and they give a lot of collaterals to help with the presentation.
Yeah, that's so important, and this, of course, but so important especially when working with the Entrepreneur Source, and then Bubbly Paws. There's a lot of moving parts there, and this is such a big decision for the clients, your candidate, and being able to really, I guess, it's trusting the brand as well. The coach trusts the brand, the client's able to trust the brand. And again, it all comes back, and we talk about this all the time, but it all comes back to experience. And just from our conversation, Bubbly Paws, again, it's deliberate, but also it doesn't feel like frantic or, desperate. It's very much, which I think also then contributes to the experience of, we're here to collaborate. We're here to educate. That's another huge part of what the Entrepreneur Source does, is the coaching and the education. It's not about selling. You're going to talk to these people about how they can use their skills in this business, what the business is, and then they get to make that, it's mutual
100%,
on both sides.
100%. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces that I took away from probably early in my career coming to this point, was sometimes when you're in ops, especially when I was with huge, national and international chains. So, I mean, thousands and thousands of locations. A lot of times someone new came on and you were just like, did they just have money and fog a mirror? And that's why I'm working with this person now. Bubbly Paws is very diligent in that. Same as me. When I talk with a client initially, I let them know, and I know your coach is kind of performing the same way. So I think that's why it works really well. I let them know I'm not here to sell you anything. My job is twofold. One, to help walk you through a discovery process to see if this brand is a good fit. And two, to make sure that ultimately you would be a great fit for the franchisor. And if at any time during that process, one or both of us say not a good fit, we're going to cut ties and not waste any more people's time at this point. I don't believe in selling anything. The brand should sell itself at the end of the day. So I'm just here to walk you through the process, answer questions, and I will be transparent. If somebody new comes into the area that you're looking at and you're kind of slow rolling it, of course I'm going to let you know that there's somebody else looking in here, because that's only fair to do. But I'm not going to use it as a let me twist your arm to get you to do something and you're maybe not quite ready for it, because that's not going to make a good franchisee on the back end. They're going to probably be disgruntled. They're going to have buyer's remorse. Not a happy person. Now we're back to validation. It's all these little snowball dominoes, right, that happen in there. So you're absolutely right. It's about creating that trust. Number one, sharing information that ultimately leads to a decision, whether it's yay or nay at the end of the day.
I love all of those things because it's just so, and we talk about it all the time at the Entrepreneur Source, about, creating a great client experience first and foremost. They're the ones who are going to be making this investment. So you want to make sure that they have all the information they need. And then also the collaboration is that other, I guess, bucket, if you want to call it, between you and the coach that's going to really help the client to kind of get past obstacles, because it's just human nature. It's just normal. Things are going to come up, especially when you're looking at such a large investment. A lot of times the clients are first-time business owners. They're looking at franchising for the first time, which is wildly exciting. I'm like, let's get more people into franchising. But yes, let's do it in the right way, where they understand what they're getting into. And actually what I see and what I hear from coaches and other franchisors is the client maybe starts a little skeptical. They're just something new, haven't really looked at it before. As they go through your process and as you're helping them learn, and it's not pushing, it's not forcing to make a decision, not selling, like you said, it's just education. They start getting so excited as they continue to move through. And by the end, they're the ones like, okay, what do I do next? Where do I, should I do more than one? Should I be doing three? Like, how quickly can I open? Like, they're the ones who get really excited. And I think that's really what, that's what you want.
We do. And you do. You want the excitement to be coming from that person, not you putting the excitement in. If I'm trying to excite you, I might get you fired up for a little bit, but you'll lose your excitement over a period of time. But if I can figure out how to stoke your own fire and then you make it grow, i.e. getting a business, it's a lot better. And those are decisions you're making. I'm not making them for you.
How do you, like, personally, how do you connect with your candidates? Like, how do you build that trust?
Well, I'm definitely a people person. So I enjoy meeting people. I think what a huge benefit of mine, and we kind of mentioned it early, essentially in my career, having been in operations, so I understand what a franchisor is looking for and the type of things that they want back from the franchisee, and in that piece. I've also been a franchisee. So I've literally sat on their side of the Zoom call or phone call or whatever it is, learning about a brand, trying to see if it's a good fit for myself. So I can empathize with the things that they're going through, the excitement, the apprehension, the anxiety, the do-I's, the don't-I's, is it worth it? All that stuff that goes through their head. And I've been fortunate enough to be in almost every city in the U.S. at different times with different parts of my career. So I can relate to where they live a lot of times, maybe somewhere that they've worked. And so we're able to build kind of a quick personal relationship on our first call, kind of the intro call. Is just building that relationship, finding out, who they are, what's their background. Even though the coaches do a great job of bringing it in, I like to talk a little bit about it and then relate myself to it. Maybe I've been in the area, I've lived in the area, I've seen it. Oh, I know that company, I've used that company. Any of those things, kind of things to help build that relationship so they don't view me as, because most people do when they start, a salesperson. I want to create kind of a good friendship piece, because that allows us to have really good dialogue about the brand and not, like you said, coming in feeling like I got to have my guard up because somebody's going to sell me. This isn't a timeshare. I'm not locking you in a room for 90 minutes and making sure that you sign something before you walk out.
Yeah, the timeshare that I'm going to use once in my lifetime. So I know 100%. Like couldn't have said it better myself. On all fronts, and your unique position as well. But I think simply it's build a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with the person that you're talking to. And sometimes I think it can get easy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's another lead that I have to get through the process. But we call leads,
Mm-hmm.
we call them clients and seekers.
It
It's
is.
actually an individual on the other side of the line who has a whole background, a whole history, a family. And I know with the entrepreneur source, they are, this is something they probably
Mm-hmm.
never would have thought about. And so being able to connect to someone and learn about the brand as opposed to just, hey, here are the financials, here's what we do,
Mm-hmm.
let me know if you want to talk more. As opposed to that approach, it's much more of this personable building
Absolutely.
a relationship
Absolutely. And
um,
sometimes, a lot of
right from
times,
the
it
first
seems
call.
like a lot of the TS coaches work with people kind of in a transition phase. They either left a job or they're
Mm,
looking at leaving a job, or maybe they got some severance, so they were given early retirement. Now they're like saying, "What's next in my place?" And so a lot of times, I love when people are in that stage. Again, I've been there before, and I love to talk about the fact that, you know, a job is just a position. If you left or quit or retired tomorrow, they would place an ad and hire somebody to replace you almost immediately. You'd love to say, and obviously you're awesome. I don't know if anyone could replace you, but they would try to do it, and they might do it for less money than they're paying you. Right? They'll get somebody younger out of that job. So when you leave or you decide I'm done, and you're ready to move on, you can't sell your job to someone else. You say sayonara, you ride off into the sunset, they bring in someone fresh, and they keep moving. They don't care. When you have a business and you set up a business, your all that energy and effort and sweat and tears and blood and anxiety and excitement that you have is building an asset. That's an asset that you can sell at some point. You can't sell a job, you can't sell your position at a company, but you can definitely sell the asset that you've spent time in developing, whether it's full time, semi absentee, however you ended up doing it and setting it up. You still have something that has value to you. You can turn around and sell that. And so many times when I talk to people about that, because they'll say, well, how long is the term? Okay, well, what do I do at 10 years? Sell or renew or something. Don't walk away. You've got value in something. Don't just walk away from it. It'd be like saying, oh, I'm done. I'm tired of living in my house, and you just walk away. Your house has value, or your car has value, or things of these have value. People don't just leave them behind. And so there's really those type of pieces to everything. I think that kind of goes to, again, kind of the synergies between what I think, feel, and obviously how the TES kind of presents themselves as well.
Love that you brought that up. And it's something we talk about all the time. We talk about income,
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, wealth, equity. Like those are kind of the four,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the four quadrants of someone's why, is how we've broken it down essentially. And so that wealth and equity piece, exactly to your point,
Mm-hmm.
you're not
Right.
gonna get that at a job. And definitely all the years, people are working 30, 40 years at a job, and then one day it's just
Yeah.
thanks, see ya, or
Eliminate your
okay,
position.
moving on to,
We're done.
yep,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Oops. So, and so to go to be able to understand from the client or the candidate's perspective, wow, like I just love the way you put it, like their time and energy and effort and all these highs and lows, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not for
Exactly.
nothing. You're building something, and so many times too, people become very like a
Mm-hmm.
pillar in their community or they're giving back, and it really actually the business helps them connect to their
Absolutely.
own values, where
Yep.
they couldn't with a job. And so that connects, I think, too, with a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
clients and candidates. It's not just, okay, the business, how much money can I make? What's the business going to do for me? It's how can I, and this is what I say to, some franchisors is how can you connect your brand and help
Mm-hmm.
someone connect to the brand
Right.
on that level as well?
Absolutely.
Giving
And
back.
I think that's crucial. I always tell people that there's three questions you need to be able to say yes to be able to move forward with a business, whether it's with i.e. Bubbly, Paws, or any other brand that you might be looking at. One is, am I really ready to own my own business and everything that that entails? Not having a boss anymore, looking in the mirror, that's your board of directors meeting, all those things that go along with it. Then you got to be able to say yes to the industry. What is it that you're looking at? Do you really like it? Do you like what you're doing? Do you love painting or do you love pets? There's got to be some kind of connection with that, because the last thing I want you to do is wake up and dread going to work or dread going into the office. And then the third one I say is, do you like or believe in the leadership of that company? So in Bubbly Paws piece, that's why I get Keith involved pretty early. Again, one, because we don't have any open franchisees yet. We're very close, a couple months. But that I want to make sure that they feel like they can work with him. Is this someone they can see themselves working with? And I say working because being friendly and doing stuff together is a lot different than working with someone. So can you work with this person? If you can say yes to those three things, do it. Close the door behind you, jump in the deep end, whatever analogy you want to use, you're ready to go. If you don't have a little anxiety or trepidation, I would worry about you, because you should. I've done it a few times. It happens. It's happened. It's normal. That's normal.
Yeah.
Don't freak out about it. But a lot of that really does kind of tie in together on, making sure you're in the right place with the right brand, because you do need to be excited about it. And that's one thing with Bubbly Paws, for example. They look for people. They want to find people who love pets, specifically dogs, but love pets. So they actually say the three P's: pets, people, and then profit. Profit's essentially, you don't want to be in a business and not make money, or you'd open a nonprofit organization, right? But it's really pets and people. And then the three P's kind of combine together to move that piece forward. So I think that's going to attract the right people. Is what line am I getting into, and do I actually like and enjoy this? And the other thing, you mentioned community. Bubbly Paws is so big on community. A lot of their marketing is done community driven. They do things called yappy hours at little local pubs and breweries or restaurants that have patios, and they invite people to bring their pups, and then they have some little pup treats with them as well. Anything associated with dog parks, rescues, adoption centers, all those types of things I'd love to get involved in. And it's funny is that really has attracted a lot of our franchisees, our clients that we already have now that are new franchisees. One lady trains dogs. She loves this idea and this concept. Some people can't stop adopting dogs. They're up to 5 now. But they love that, and it resonates with them. Not just the business concept and what am I getting at the end of the day by running this business, but like you said, how does it impact my community? How does it impact my living? Do I feel good at the end of the day, like I did something with it? And I think that's crucial.
Great points across the board. Just Nathan, so many great nuggets.
Yes.
No, I told you it would happen. So, kind of going into this and going along with this, I do want to wrap it up here with, when you do look over you've had your 25 years behind you, done so many different things, and have a great insights into franchising over the years. What do you see when you think of the future of franchising is? What does that mean to you?
Yeah,
What do you see on the horizon?
I think that's crucial, to be honest with you. I really believe that there's more and more individuals are wanting to actually take control of their futures. We've heard it out there. The Great Resignation is something that a lot of people have been kind of saying. I think people are getting to the point of wanting to say, I want control over what's happening here. Too many times people get left out when restructuring happens, and now they're scrambling. What do I do? And they're trying, they're fishing at jobs, and now you're stressing and you're anxious about finding something. And so the interview probably goes horribly because you're overstressing because you need it. And so I really feel that there's going to be a lot more people reaching out to that. And I think most importantly is because franchising, again, doesn't eliminate, but mitigates risk. It mitigates risk. It gives those people who want to be business owners and never stepped into that because of the uncertainties potentially surrounding it. Franchising gives them that in business, for yourself, not by yourself concept, again, and allows them, again, that opportunity to explore any type of opportunity, whether it's pets or senior care or, service industry or medical. It doesn't matter. If you have a passion for something, there's definitely a business opportunity that's out there for you. So I think franchises, they offer anyone that opportunity again to start businesses for themselves with really a lot of times no real experience necessary. In a lot of these major opportunities that are out there, the franchisor will teach you what you need to know. That's what you're buying into. That knowledge, all that experience that they've done, they have everything documented, so you know how to do this or how to do that. It's all taken care of. So I think it's going to be huge. I believe that we're going to continue this streak, and you and I both know that's really what America's ran on is the small entrepreneur, the small business owner. They're the ones who really are stimulating the economy.
Amen. Amen. Great way to wrap this up. So thank you, Nathan, with Bubbly, Paws, and Franchise Beacon for joining me
Awesome.
on
Thank you
Franchise
so much,
Friday.
Melissa. It's
I
been a
loved it.
pleasure.